In this video, I want to show you how to write custom documentation in EventCatalog. What this means is you can bring any documentation in your organization to EventCatalog and have EventCatalog host this. So these are things like architecture decision records, guides, tutorials, anything really that you want, you can now bring into EventCatalog. So in this demo, I'm going to show you how to get this set up in a few minutes and how you can start using this feature. So let's head over to the code. So all I've got here is a new event catalog that I've just installed on my machine. And what I've done is actually added a new folder called docs. Now this is where your custom documentation will live. Inside here, I have a few folders. Now you can organize the custom docs as much as you want or as little. I have 3 folders here. You can see guides, operations support, and technical architecture decisions. Okay, so remember this could be anything that you want. If we dive into guides, I have a guide called Creating New Microservices in Our Organization. I have an index file which goes through various things that we will see in a minute, service design principles and various other stuff, okay? So what happens is there are 2 parts to custom documentation. Number 1 is the docs themselves, and number 2 is the configuration in the sidebar. So once you have your documentation over here, all these are just markdown files, as you can see, with a bit of front matter at the top, is then we can go over to EventCatalog config file, and we have a new property called custom docs, as you see here. And what we can do here is actually specify how we want the sidebar to represent our custom documentation. Okay, so if I go to EventCatalog and run this on my machine, you can see here it is EventCatalog on my machine. And then if I click on this custom documentation, you can actually see that we actually now have some custom docs in our catalog. So as you can see here, I now have guides, I have technical architecture and design, I have architecture decision records and all sorts of things, anything you really want it to be. And as you scroll down here, we can see these are all the things that we documented. Now, if I go to creating a new microservice and I go back and we go to guides, creating a new microservice, and we just put test in the summary, go back, you can see that it immediately kind of represents, in the browser. So some good stuff here. So the sidebar, how this works, let me talk about this, here is the sidebar. And what we have is some objects in this array, and we can say, okay, we want to start with guides, and we have the label guide. So I could change this to hello world, save that, and we will see this represented up here on the left, as you can see there. So, we can actually define the category. We can say if it's collapsed or not, which means is it going to be defaulted collapse or is it going to be open for your users? We can then specify the items that we want. Now we can specify them one by one if we want to do that, which I'll come to in a second, or we can use this auto-generated property, which basically says, okay, here is the directory. I want you to auto-generate that sidebar for this directory. So what this means is it maps your directory into your sidebar. So as you can see here, we're saying guides / creating new microservices, index, self, and we go down like this. So as we come down here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can actually kind of see this as we click on these. Now, a way in which you can order these is I recommend just putting some numbers there, and then the numbers will represent, the order that will come up in here, which is fine. We have a badge here, so you can put badge anything you want. We put new and the color is green, and that's the thing we can see here against this particular category, okay? So the next one, let's have a look. We've got technical architecture and design, and we have architecture decision records, we have system architecture diagrams and infrastructure as code. So if we go back to this example, we can see here is the heading, we've got a badge, it's not collapsed by default, so it's open. Then we have 3 items in here. So we have the architecture decision records, we have the system architecture designs and infrastructure as code. So these are exactly the same as what we've seen. We can actually collapse subsections if we want. So you'll see here I've got like collapsed is false because these are subsections here. If you wanted them to be collapsed, you put that to true. So when users come in for the first time, they will see these open. But just for demo purposes, this architecture decision records, I've actually decided to do a mix of things. So I'm using the slug property. So what I'm telling EventCatalog is I just want this one particular file. Okay. Now, if you wanted, you could, so what happens here is this actually maps into this file, what is an architecture decision record and things like that. Okay. And you can see here we have mermaid and all sorts of things. Down here, we have the auto-generated directories, and we're just mapping directories into the sidebar with the collapse of true. So to recap here, there are 2 ways in which you can do items. You can have the slug property, and you can actually specify exactly the file that you want to represent on the sidebar. So you can have like a manual sidebar here. Or the easiest way, and the way I recommend to do it, is just give you the auto-generated, which will give it a directory. Okay. Now it's always going to be in the docs, is always the root. So, you know, you can see here is the technical architecture design. So we go inside this folder here, and then we can dive deeper and map folders. So we're mapping drafts in this example, and the drafts will be represented inside the UI. So this is how you get started with custom docs. Okay. So another thing I just wanted to show you quickly too is like the ability to add event catalog components inside of your custom docs. So here is what is the architecture decision record. So let's have a look at this. So if we go here, architecture decision records, and we go to this one on the root. As you can see here, I actually have tiles. Okay, these tiles are event catalog components that you can use inside your docs. So if I go back to this, we can see these tiles are represented here. Okay, we have a column of 2. If I added more tiles in here and go back, we can see we've got more tiles. So you can actually like do whatever you want. You know, the event catalog components are here to help you. Here is a tip, for example. We can do tip. I think we have warning. So if I go down here, this changes to a warning. I can copy this, and then we can actually do tips again, and you can see here that it gets represented straight away. Okay. And another thing we can also do is things like mermaid diagrams in all our documentation. So Event Catalog supports mermaids. So we come out down here, we can see the mermaid things there. The other thing you can do with Event Catalog, which is pretty cool, is actually assign owners to documentation. So Event Catalog has the idea of owners with your resources, with your events and your services and your domains. But what we can do here is actually attach an owner to a particular document. So how do we do that? Well, we come inside here. Let's have a look where we are. We're creating a new microservice, and we have an owner here, exactly the same way we do in our event catalog, okay, with your resources. So we assign an owner, this is a team, this is a user in your organization, and then you can see they're mapped here for you. So that's kind of pretty much it. And down at the bottom, we have some nice buttons to go to and from the next pages, as you can see. And then on the right here, we have a thing that kind of tracks you as you scroll down into the docs to help you get an overview of what's on the page and quickly find what you need. As you can see, this one here is quite comprehensive. We have diagrams, we have code examples, we have like all sorts of things. The other thing you can do is actually also embed flows and other catalog resources. One thing that's going to come out soon, if it's not out already while you're watching this, is the ability to add catalog resources in this and add the visualizer inside of these pages and everything else. So looking forward to that, and the ability to also chat to your catalog and get LLM support for all your documentation should be out very soon. So yeah, have a play. If you need to know more, come over to the docs, eventcatalog.dev, click on docs, get it started. And then down here, we have custom documentation. Click on introduction. This will give you a walkthrough of exactly what I just said. If you click on adding custom documentation, it will walk you through how to exactly do this, what to expect, what properties there are, and how to configure this in your catalog. So I hope you're excited by this, and if you've got any questions, feel free to head over to our Discord channel up here, join Discord, and yeah, feel free to get in contact if you have any questions. But I'm super excited by this. It means we can actually bring in documentation from third parties and actually have them all in one place, if that is something that is valuable to you, or without having to manage various different docs in various different places. Okay, yeah, so hope you like watching this video, and thank you very much for watching.